Hello. On this beautiful morning I find myself down in the Vale of Glamorgan and have the joy of meeting with Glynis Owen, who is to be our next moderator installed at Llandudno 2025.
Hello Wayne, how nice to see you. And you. Welcome to Trehill, or welcome back, because you've been before.
Looking forward to chatting with you and talking through a variety of things through your life. I'm sure people are going to be very interested in what you have to say.
Well, we'll see. It's a great privilege anyway.
So, Glynis, we are in the Vale of Glamorgan, as I've already said. We're outside Trehill Chapel, and I see behind me that this has a very strong association with Howell Harris. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, well, it was a society originally founded in 1740 by Harris himself in a house which is just 2 houses along the road from here, and he came 23 times to this society, which is amazing. And indeed in 1750, when there was the rift with Roland, Harris had his first association here at Trehill. So it's a proud history. And I mean, this building obviously was founded in 1870, but we go back a long way, and we've got Howell Harris's preaching chair inside, which you can see in a minute. So yes, it's part of the whole story of Presbyterianism.
Okay. So Glynis, when was Trehill built in its present form?
Well, the chapel was built in 1870, and then in the 1960s they expanded and the schoolroom was built, and you'll see that in a minute. But
And what about your association with Trehill?
yes, well, I came here in the late 80s when I was back in Cardiff, but my family church is Bethel in New Tredegar.
Which is in the Gwent Valleys.
Yes, both my parents were brought up in the Rumney Valley. And
now, if you'll forgive me for saying this, you do not have a Gwent Valley accent.
well, I had a nomadic childhood mixed between England and the north coast of Scotland, as well as a little time in South Wales. So yes, complete nomad. But the one constant in my life has been Bethel, New Tredegar, and that village.
That community.
Because my grandparents came there in 1909 to look for work from mid Wales, and my whole family of 16 aunts and uncles have all been chapel people and congregated at Bethel. So it's been the real hub of our family's life. I've been brought up in a Christian family, and I'm very grateful for that. They weren't just devout, but they witnessed to it in their lives as well. And as a child, I was, part of seeing that, which was wonderful.
Wonderful.
So, but my father's work took us all around. We started in Manchester, where I was born, and then we went to Thurso on the north coast of Scotland, back down to Warrington, then on to the Wirral. So I went to 8 schools altogether.
Wow.
Yes, very nomadic. But looking back, it was tough at the time.
Yeah.
But it was good looking back to be able to walk into classrooms and not know anybody and make new friends all the time. So
And coming back to Wales was your kind of anchor point in some ways then?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, that was the one constant, and the people there were so lovely and welcoming, and that was home. And my parents' funerals have taken place at Bethel, etc. But sadly, as moderator of Presbyterian, I had to close it last year, which was hard. But it's been lively all these years, and it's now the people have passed on, and there are no new people coming in. So it's the right time for it to close, but sad all the same.
So in a sense, you've had the full experience of being a part of the Presbyterian Church of Wales.
Absolutely. I mean, they had almost a reverence for the denomination. They wouldn't go on holiday if there was a district meeting or presbytery or association. So I grew up with all that, which was lovely.
And do you feel those values have been instilled in you, and I think that you've wanted to carry on in your own expression of faith?
I do. I mean, as soon as I came back to Wales, there was no choice. I was going to join the Presbyterian Church, not the Methodists, which I'd been in England, and I just give thanks for all that it's given me all these years, and if I can pay anything back now, then that's a privilege.
Wonderful. So Glynis, we've come into this really lovely vestry and a gorgeous painting behind us. You mentioned the fact that you've been associated with Trehill for around 30 odd years, and your roots are in Trehill in the Gwent Valleys. But I wonder, was there a point in your own life where the faith of your parents became your own faith?
Yes, very much so. One evening when I was 17, and I felt the warmth of God with me in my room that night. But there were two events that were pivotal in my teens, which sort of led, I think, to that. The first one was in 1963, when John Robinson published Honest to God. And we were in a church in Warrington at the time, and my parents had a house group. And I've never seen adults so excited about discussing theology and religion and questions of life and death. And whilst I was too young to go to this group in our house, I eavesdropped and I caught the bug of theology as being the most exciting and meaningful discussions that you could have. So that was one moment, and it's never left me. But the other was going to a new school again for the sixth form, and meeting the woman who was the deputy head of the school in Chester. And in the same way that when people met Jesus, they were transformed, she had that effect on generations of us because she was so selfless. And so you were bound to say, what motivates somebody to be that selfless? And it was her faith.
Wow.
I learnt many years later, she was a member of Trinity Wrexham, actually, one of three sisters, and the family was known. Mary and Anne were her two sisters. She was Eleanor Edwards. And not only did she witness her care before pastoral care was ever coined as a phrase in the schools, but when we were sixth formers, she was determined to give us experiences which would help us to become more selfless. So, for example, we all had to visit somebody on our way home from school on a Friday, somebody elderly living on their own, and do their shopping or make their tea or whatever. And on a Saturday, she'd been around all the estates in Chester with families with children, and she'd hire a double-decker bus, and we would have two children each, and we would go out for the day to Chester Zoo or Powys Castle or wherever. And in the holidays, you had to give up 2 weeks of your, well, you didn't have to, but you did give up 2 weeks of your holiday to do community service. And I went to the mental hospitals in Chester in those days, which were Victorian workhouses. And I was locked into the wards at 9 in the morning and locked out again at 5, and no training, you just got on with it. But, you know, she gave us opportunities to see how other people lived and to say, you've got health, you've got education, you've got opportunities, and you must have responsibility for people as well. And I can't thank her enough.
How did that sort of shape your understanding of faith?
Well, it worked in with what my parents, because they were people who looked out for others, and my family, they lived out their faith, and that was. She was another example of it, if you like, and I'm sure all those two experiences in particular, both the intellectual talking about theology, but also the living out your faith, I'm sure those both influenced me as a teenager.
And that sort of, in a sense, gave you a platform to go on to university education and a career. Yes,
I mean, I believed, and I still believe, that my vocation was in teaching. That's what I wanted to do, and I believe God wanted me to be in the classroom. So I went to university in London. I wanted to teach French and had a year in France, and then did my education year in Bristol. And then I went to teach in Sheffield, and I was absolutely excited by teaching. To be in a classroom with 30 teenagers and to learn together is the most vibrant, dynamic place to be, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I went on from Sheffield to Croydon to teach, and then came back to Howells as deputy head in '83.
That's
so
in
I came
Cardiff
back to Wales
then?
in Cardiff, yeah.
Okay. And through those professional experiences, faith remained a very important part.
Yes.
Something you attempted to exhibit in your
well,
teaching.
You try, don't you? I mean, you can't proselytise, but you can act as you believe is right. But you can also take school assemblies, and that's an opportunity. You know, you've got hundreds of teenagers, and you have to keep them interested and to make them think, and that's a challenge. So yes, that was a privilege too.
And I know that kind of those professional experiences makes you used to obviously standing up in front of people. You are well known in the South Wales as a lay preacher, lay leader. Where did that sort of desire to serve in that way come from?
Well, I felt as a teacher that I should be able to take services, but actually I'd started when I was 20 in Bethel New Trehill. Yes, wow. I just felt that I had something to say and I could say it. So yes, I have done preaching ever since, but there were times when I was busy at work that I couldn't do as many services. I hadn't got the time to read. So it was holiday time then. But by the time I got to about 50, I thought, well, I really can do this more seriously. So I went to St Michael's College in Llandaff for a year to train more. And people kindly invited me, particularly afternoons and evening services. Yeah. So I was able to sort of do more of it. And then I thought the Presbyterian Church was very forward-looking in commissioning elders to administer the sacraments. And you know, that's a huge privilege, and I do thank them for that opportunity. So yes, I do both now. I do more at Trehill now because we're pastoralists, but we've always had such wonderful ministry here that it's been a great privilege to be here.
It's interesting, you know, as I say, you've experienced many different things within the connection. Do you feel that those experiences give you an understanding of not just the history, but also the challenges? Absolutely,
yes. I mean, there are challenges at the moment. I'm very aware of the statistics and of the finance, but I think there are also some very good things that are going on, some real initiatives. And you know, I look back to my working life and working with teams of people, and I think there is more of a sense now in people coming together, certainly in our presbytery, and working as a team to do things together, and that's exciting.
Good,
yes.
Good.
I mean, I'm a lover of strategic planning because that's been my background in work and then in inspection, and yes, I believe that it can do good.
Good. And you mentioned inspection, so you kind of went on in kind of
well, I decided I didn't want to be a head. I'd worked for a wonderful head, Jill Turner at Howells, who was an inspiration, but I thought, no, my interests were more in training. So I went on to be the training consultant of all the girls' schools in the UK. So I travelled for about 18 months, which was the time when strategic planning and appraisal were coming in. So I used to go to staff rooms and try to get enthusiasm for these initiatives, which wasn't always easy. And then the inspectorate opened up, that the HMI trained us as inspectors and registered inspectors to do more inspections, so you had one every 6 years rather than when HMI did it. And I loved the work, I did really.
Fascinating. You sound like a very busy lady right throughout your life. So before we kind of come to a close, what did you actually, if you had spare time, what did you do with it? What are the things that you enjoy doing that, you know?
Well, what I enjoy most now, Wayne, is having time to meet friends, you know, old friends, and have coffee and lunch together and just relax and enjoy people. But if I'm on my own, I will read a lot. I do read theology still because it still interests me very much, but I also read murder mysteries and all sorts of things, you know. And you know that I actually like watching sport because I was so terrible at it myself at school. I was the last to be picked for any team, so I admire the skills of people. So I'm a bit of a couch potato, but I enjoy watching sport.
Are you prepared to nail your colours to the mast as to who you support, or are you going to be diplomatic and say no comment?
Well, all real football fans will completely dismiss me because I've got two teams, and I'm sure that's not what you're supposed to have. But I was born in Manchester, and we lived in Warrington, and I lived in Sheffield, so I supported Manchester United in those days. But as a teenager we moved on to the Wirral, and so Liverpool at that time was doing well. And I have to confess, before church on a Sunday, and indeed after, the conversation was all about how Liverpool had played the previous days. It was the glory days of Liverpool in Europe, you know. So we supported Liverpool at that time.
Excellent.
So one of them now is always doing well, you see. So I'm very fortunate.
You can, as they say in the sporting week, you can spread bet on that. Then, really,
absolutely, yes, yes.
Excellent, excellent. So it sounds to me as though, Glynis, you're bringing a terrific amount of skills and experiences to your time as moderator. Be interested to know what are your hopes for your tenure?
Well, it's a huge privilege, Wayne, and I never saw this coming my way. So I thank everybody who's had any faith in my being able to contribute something. I've got used to it, looking forward to it.
Good.
I mean, I've championed young people all my working life. That's what it was about. So I hope I can encourage the young in particular, but also everybody else who's working in the church, because I am a team person, and I look forward to working with people to do things. There are items, obviously, from the General Assembly that need to be followed up, and I look forward to that. And Coleg Abala is still on the agenda, that we need to do things there. Restructuring, I'm sure, will in some shape or form be part of that process. There's the future of our buildings that has come through. There's financial planning. So those are just a few of them. So, you know, plenty of challenges, but also opportunities. And I'm a positive person, so I look forward to those.
And I'm guessing you already mentioned you enjoy meeting people and chatting and coffees. So you're hoping to meet people across Wales? And,
yes, I hope to certainly come up to North, Mid and West Wales to get to know people better, because I think you can achieve an awful lot just by talking with people, and I just enjoy people anyway, so that's going to be a joy.
Excellent.
And getting to know better the people that I already know, but also meeting a lot of new people. And I mean, I'm very sorry that I don't speak Welsh, and I'm quite ashamed, being a language teacher, that I don't, you know, but I'm a bit too old now to be able to feel I could really make progress in learning a new language. So I hope people will forgive that and go with me.
It's been a joy to chat to you, Glynis.
Oh, it's lovely of you to give up your time.
Not at all, no.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure that folks that are watching this will be intrigued even more to get to know you. And I'm sure you'll have the full support of the denomination in your time as moderator.
Wow.
So thank you for being prepared to give of yourself to serve the connection in this way.
Well, that's a privilege, Wayne. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.